Good morning. Dave Feldman here, Chair of Loyalty Summit Americas. I'm here with Tommy Danielsen, and we're going to have a quick chat about the new changes to American Airlines Advantage announced this week, particularly or specifically the new policy coming up that's basically saying that you'll only earn miles and loyalty points if you book direct with American Airlines. Hi, Tommy.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you. How's Southern California treating you?
Hey, it stopped raining.
Yeah, here too. It was, we had 72-mile-an-hour winds when we were in Europe, so that was kind of crazy. But yeah, it is an interesting time we live in, and I thought it was an interesting subject that you wanted to talk to about. That's why I thought it was a good idea to join you. And we had a conversation back in August when American changed how they sell tickets already. I mean, this is not a new thing. Transitional. This has happened for a while, right? Already, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think this is sort of what's gone on this week. There's a lot of confusion out there this week, and the reason is because all of a sudden American has gone public to members, to frequent flyers to basically say, hey, we're making these changes. And when these new changes kick in, you will no longer earn loyalty points or miles unless you book through direct channels. And of course, everybody's in a tears, and everybody's all of a sudden like, well, what's a direct channel? What's not a direct channel? I have to book through the corporate portal at work. Maybe it's Amex, maybe it's Concur, but it's not really about that. It's about who's in the background. Are they a preferred? Are they not preferred? And Americans turn around and said, well, we will let you know in April who the list of preferred booking agencies is. So there's all of a sudden everybody's in a panic about, well, I have to book through my corporate portal. Is that a preferred agency? Is that not a preferred agency? There's a lot of frustration out there. So I think there's two things going on. Number one, I think there's an assessment that could be made about whether American has communicated this well or not. I think that's an easy one. We can tackle that and just say, hey, if you had have at least published, hey, this is the initial list of preferred agencies, you probably would have avoided all of this consternation going on, because my $100 is on the table that basically says 99% of American Airlines frequent flyers are not actually going to be impacted by this, because pretty much all of the corporate agencies, regardless of who is running the ticketing in the back end of those corporate portals, are going to be fine. They're going to be included. So why American can't just come out and put those people on the list to start with would have avoided a lot of this. But what that comes down to, I think, Tommy, is that frequent flyers are panicking about this, thinking this is all about trying to force frequent flyers to book direct, and they're kind of missing the whole trick here. This is nothing to do with frequent flyers. This is all about American strategy to strong arm agencies who sell tickets for American Airlines into complying with their wish list of what they want those agencies to do and how they want them to sell tickets.
Right.
This is all about American strategy around their sales and distribution, which is a strategy they've been implementing and executing on for quite some time now. I mean, they basically they fired their entire corporate sales organization and basically said, we just want to deal directly with the customer. We want to do a lot less managed corporate travel deals. And we want to go after agencies selling our tickets and basically strong arm them into selling the way we want them to sell them.
Right.
That's what this is all about. And they're using Advantage members and frequent flyers as the stick to threaten agencies to basically say, if you don't comply with our sales wishes, our distribution wishes, then we'll tell all of our members that they can't book with you. That's basically what they're doing here, but they're using the Advantage frequent flyers as, I guess, as bait, if you will, without telling them the whole story. So there's a lot of confusion out there.
Yeah, I think that it all comes down to NDC, and then which means that the new distribution capability is what this portal was, and it's actually almost a year ago since they started to force online booking. So, for example, the way I found out about this was that I like to book through American Express Travel to get my points back for the. So if there is a sweet spot on domestic travel where I purchase a first class ticket, short haul within the U.S. for say $350, which means 35,000 Amex points that I have to use in order to get my money back for that. But when you have the platinum card, business card from American Express, you get a discount of 35%. So it's not 35,000. It is 22,850 or whatever the math is on that. So I logged on to do it and I saw that, wait a minute, American Airlines are, the prices are not matching on the website at all. And it was, and the difference, the fare difference was, I was flying from Dallas Fort Worth to Atlanta, and the ticket was $300. So that's a no-brainer right there. It's 18,000 miles to get, it counts as a first class ticket, but you're using your Amex mile points to get your stuff back for that. And it was the only fare I could find, the $299 ticket that was available on American Airlines website, and also on some third-party website like Priceline. I could find it there, but on American Express's platform, it was the only fare was full fare, $800. So that was the first push. And then I Googled around a little bit. I had a conversation with Gary Leff, a dear friend of mine who writes The View from the Wing. So we had a little bit of chat about that. And I'll show you and then I, saw this article about that was written by Brett, the cranky flyer, which, he's lives about 25 minutes away from your house, and delivers a blow to the future of travel sales. So then I had some conversation with friends of mine that work high up in one of the top 3 travel agents that has one of the top 3 customers, which is a huge consulting firm that were told that, hey, American Airlines is not giving us the prepared. The reason why a big corporation with 88,000 employees, where 25,000 consultants are on the road, these are going to be unnamed at this point. The reason why they don't make a corporate agreement with American and make and deal with, for example, Concur or American Express Travel or anybody of those guys, is so they can book with everybody. And Amex takes care of the negotiations with the deals, versus in the same way of a company having to do it to negotiate with American Airlines directly and all Delta and all the other guys. So that was the first step into it. And this particular consulting company, were told, don't book American Airlines unless if there's a nonstop flight and it saves you a ton of time. Don't book it. So what we see here, a lot of the consultants, they don't mind taking a stop on a Thursday. They want us to get home, and priorities change. I don't know how yours is, but for me, it's all about nonstop. If I can fly Spirit nonstop for 2.5 hours to get home versus passing through Phoenix and wait there for 2 hours, then it's a no-brainer. I will take the fastest route to get home. But for consultants, or for business travelers, you kind of don't have those options. What becomes available in the booking portal is what you can book. And they literally blocked out American last year from that particular company. It might be that the company doesn't care about that and don't see it. But we were talking substantial difference. So in my example, the fare difference was $500 for a one-way ticket. So that was last year. But this kind of changes the game. They also, in the meantime, in last year, American, didn't they fire their entire sales department?
Yeah, so just to play back up a bit, because I guess a lot of people listening might be a bit confused about this whole NDC thing, but basically the idea with NDC is it's this, back-end wholesale channel pipeline that airlines can, provide to OTAs and other sales agencies and all the rest, where the sales agency can sell not just the airfare, but can sell, the seat upgrades or the priority boarding or whatever the add-on ancillaries is. And the whole idea is that basically everybody can make more money in the background.
So GDS is where they came from. I apologize. So Sabre is a legacy program where American has, and it can be implemented on any website. There's a distribution agreement automatically, and anyone can sell it. So that was GDS.
But traditionally,
NDS is a new version where there's no commissions or anything that involved. It's American selling directly.
But the traditionally, if you bought non-direct, you could only buy the airfare. You couldn't buy the add-ons and things like that. And that's what the airlines want to do, is they want to have in the sales channel all this there's richer information and there's a richer suite of products that can be bought. And yes, they don't want to pay commissions, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this is all about. And as you've given some background on that, Tommy, the reality is this has been going on for some time. And yes, several months ago, I mean, they basically fired their entire sales organization. They basically said we want to stop doing everything except for the very top tier of managed corporate contracts. We don't want to do we don't want to do any more small business deals or anything like that. Everybody can book direct. Yes, the big huge consulting firms and the big huge Hollywood deals and stuff like that we'll keep doing deals with. Everybody else, you're on your own. Pretty bold move. There are plenty of other pundits in the industry and in American Airlines that are betting whether the executives responsible have made the right decision there or not. Time will tell. That's for shareholders and the board to ultimately make decisions on in the end. It's a big gamble. It's a big risk. Obviously, if it pays off, the other airlines will copy. This is just another tactic in that overarching strategy, except this time they're basically saying, hey, we're gonna tell all of our Advantage members basically not to book through you or through your agency if you don't jump on board with what we want. But here's the problem with it. Here's where this can backfire for American, Tommy, because American has actually been on the forefront of some really cool initiatives since the pandemic of really expanding the relevancy of the frequent flyer program to infrequent flyers, to whether it's families or people that fly once a year, or people that don't fly enough to get status but still making the program relevant. Everything from, hey, you know what, just by being a member, you're going to get a better boarding group. I don't want to call it priority boarding, but you're not going to be boarding group 9 anymore if you are even just a member of the program. If you sign up right now, you'll get a better boarding position. Things like that to make the program relevant. Now, obviously, Americans' play here is we get you to sign up for the program. Now we have a marketing relationship with you. Ultimately, we can pitch you the credit card, all the rest of it. Even if you're not a real frequent flyer, you fly once every couple of years with us, we want to make this relevant to you. So they've been making huge efforts to put those initiatives in place. And now they're kind of, I don't know, this tactic kind of, the messaging around this tactic undermines that. So there's a big risk for American there as well that this could backfire. The truth is, my prediction is that most of these corporate booking portals, regardless of who's in the back end of Amex or Concur or whatever else, are going to be on the preferred list. American is just holding out the big stick right now to force agencies' hand in this, kind of like the graphic that you just put up. But the reality is they're causing a huge amount of confusion amongst the elite base. And I think saying we're not going to release the list of preferred agencies until April is as a big mistake, because I think there's a lot of Advantage members that it's early in the year right now. The Advantage membership year is about to restart in a week's time. Right. They may decide to be like, you know what? Hey, it's almost March. I'm going to start consolidating on Delta or United instead.
Right. No, I think that for individuals, I think that the NDC has already had an impact already. But it feels like they can't make their minds up. They don't want to have their own sales department, and they don't want to sell through channels. Everything is going to happen online, which is kind of science fiction, because that's really not the way it works. And NDC is almost a year old, and we haven't seen any of the other carriers make a move on this. Like it hasn't even been a discussion. Because I would assume Delta will not do it, because Delta is in really close in with American Express. So American Express travel will, I don't see that happening anytime soon. The other stuff that we're seeing also is like you said, the American elite is not the American elite. We have a lot of these Facebook groups out there where we can see how that has changed dramatically, and how easy it is with very simple moves to get loyalty points, which is the way you earn status with American, and how you get up on the list. I just got into it with this funny bone guy that spent $2 million on the Advantage credit card. He runs some sort of a business, and he got 2 point something million loyalty points, which is galactically stupid, because you are literally giving up millions of miles opportunity that you could have earned on much more lucrative currencies. and flexible currency than just earning American Airlines miles. And it's funny, like when we go to Cancun twice a year, we're always on top of the upgrade list. And it's like, yeah, and you also lost 5-6 million American Airline or American membership rewards points or Chase Ultimate Rewards point because you're a retard. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous. And it is working, like you're saying. It's absolutely true. They've been able to play a mind game that's actually working to get crazy high spend on people who own businesses who earns 1x on these horribly earning credit cards.
But for those people, they're happy. And American has played it really, really well. So they're
super happy. The thing here is though that even if that flight to Cancun was $2,000 per person from DFW or $10,000 per person, it would have paid off for him to just redeem that flight in first class and not be on the upgrade list. So
of course, but loyalty is not a rational game, and we know there's plenty of players that they're happy, and you know what, they're happy like that, and if they're happy doing that, then that's a win for them and a win for American, which makes this move by American even stranger. Again, I get what they're doing, wanting to try to hold the stick against the agencies and all the rest, but it just seems to be a huge own goal this week with allowing that confusion to reign amongst frequent flyers, and obviously these discussions have been happening, in the background for a long time, and Americans felt that they need to publicly come out with this big stick, but it's a big gamble, and I don't think there's any guarantee this is going to pay off.
It's a big gamble for sure, but there's also, you have to realize the fact that in the last quarter of last year, they made, out of a $16 billion revenue, they made $15 million profit, which is 0 point nothing, right, percentage of their revenue. So are they in a financial position to play around with big company contracts?
Look, it's a political argument, and I think, I'd hesitate to say there's a lot of internal politics in American where these arguments, there's plenty of people on both sides of the argument. Ultimately, this is the decision and the direction that senior executives have taken, or are taking, and if it's a huge gamble, it's a huge risk, and if it pays off, good for them. I think, look, American is interesting. American has even pre-pandemic, American has been struggling to be competitive against United and Delta. When you look at the financials, it's always they are the laggard. That said, like I said, since the pandemic, they've been taking a lot of, I'm going to say, infrequent customer-friendly initiatives because they've realized and recognized that there's this huge pre-pandemic. All three airlines were making the mistake of ignoring the bulk of their travelers in favor of the top 1%, even though the top 1% weren't actually changing their behavior. They were over-investing in those that weren't actually being incentivized to change their behavior and ignoring the rest. And American recognized that and really launched a number of good initiatives, everything from removal of change fees on award tickets, things like that, just making the program a lot more friendly and removing friction. So and you could argue loyalty points, the changeover to loyalty points, also open this up again, the whole thing of, it makes status perhaps relevant even to people that aren't on an airplane all the time, but can engage with the brand on the ground on a daily basis. There's a lot of arguments to say that it's a very, very clever decision. All of this comes down to using the membership as pawns in this fight with agencies. That just seems very, very risky. Yeah. And you say in these Facebook groups this week, there is a lot of concern.
No, and that's exactly the point here. I mean, it's being used as a negotiating tactic. I mean, the impact might be zero for most of these guys. And that's the reality for those who are road warriors for a big company. I do think that it's I completely agree. I think that the loyalty point strategy is completely fascinating, and I love the outcome of it. All of the stuff that you're seeing out there, how the dynamics of the membership and the member base has changed, it's just crazy. And I also feel like, but the thing that American hasn't done, they haven't made it more difficult to get the status. It's the same as it was before for people who travel every week and put money in the seats so it's
I
not
mean, yeah. I mean, there's some nuances around there, Tommy. I mean, for people that already have the status,
it's not $35,000 like Delta wants, right?
Yeah, for those who have the status, it's effectively the same behavior as allowing you to keep it. I mean, they've certainly made it harder if you're starting from zero and working up. But
Yeah,
again,
that's
it's not
always like that.
they haven't done the extremes. You're right.
Right. No, I mean it's always like that, and you get more stuff, you more miles and more qualifying stuff when you have status. So it's always been like that. But I feel like it is exciting, and I love that somebody's stepping outside of the box, because here the history of the U.S. and when it comes to frequent flyer miles and points is monkey see, monkey do. Delta does something, and the other guys are starting the calculators are working overtime, and boom, there you have it. They're going to follow. But I don't think that the other guys are going to follow on this one. Delta is for sure, because Amex travel, and they're not going to treat the other guys differently for sure. And Delta has had their bumps in the road last year. They had too much commotion going on last year, so I don't see anything happening with them. And United has kind of been, it's been very quiet from Chicago for a while.
It's interesting because, again, you're right. Up until probably right before the pandemic, it was monkey see, monkey do amongst the big three, and then they started to move out of lockstep. And I think United moved first in that regard. And it's been refreshing to see all three of them go in different directions. Now, you can argue good or bad on whatever they've been deciding to do, but it's been good for them to finally recognize that they actually have different customer bases. They have different markets, so therefore different strategies are the correct way to go. And they've all been willing to go out and try things, not necessarily customer friendly, but they've been willing to go out, and that's refreshing to see. So I'm not sure that we're going to see necessarily monkey see, monkey do, but again, this is all about this is inside baseball stuff that is really behind the scenes to customers. So involving customers in this fight on the back end is it's an intriguing move. It's definitely a bold and a risky move. And here's the other thing as well: as we talk about corporate booking tools and things like that, what a lot of people don't realize is a lot of the corporate booking tools, they're white labeled in the background. A lot of them are run by agencies like Expedia in the back end. And you'd never know it because they're not branded that. But the hotels have been grappling with this for a number of years, because it's been about 10 years since the direct booking, initiative started with hotels, where you don't get your benefits and all the rest if you don't book direct. The problem has been is that, and that was very clearly aimed at OTAs like Expedia, etc.
Yeah, it wasn't claimed on business travelers, because of business travelers, they still get their benefits.
The problem more recently has been is that with Expedia, for example, and others starting to run the back end of a lot of the business booking portals, including some Amex portals, for example, you have business travelers booking through ostensibly a business booking portal that comes through on the back end to a hotel as looking like it's come from Expedia. And hotels have started to struggle with recoding their systems to be able to differentiate someone who's booked through an Expedia channel that's really a corporate channel versus somebody who's gone to Expedia.com, and making sure that at the front desk, when you show up, that person who's booked through a corporate tool doesn't look like, oh, they're Johnny come, Expedia.com booking, therefore don't give them their points or benefits. And we could argue whether that's a smart move to start with or not. But the infiltration of the corporate booking tools has complicated that whole thing. So, this is inside baseball stuff in the background. And members don't realize that this has nothing to do with changing the behavior of Advantage members. And it's all about trying to threaten, agencies to comply with what American wants them to do in terms of distribution.
Right. So there are some other smaller changes as well, and that's Alaska was the first to raise the bag fee from $30 to $35. So, but for Advantage members, there's no impact whatsoever. It's still free for any tier.
Yeah, if assuming you have status. Yeah, assuming you have status or the co-brand card. Bag fees, it's just one of these things, right? We can go back to 2008 and start arguing about bag fees.
It's funny that they have the first thing they're talking about is obviously save money on oversized and overweight items. So if you are checking a bag that's from 50 to 50, so if you go 3 pounds over the 50 pound limit, it goes from $100 to $30. So if your bag is 50.5 pounds over, instead of and you don't feel like taking out a pair of underpants, then you pay $30 and 100. So and if you go from 53 to 70 pounds, it goes from $100 to $200, which was what it was before. So if that little point is the 50 to 53 pounds, they're giving you a break. But above that, for 53 to 70, then when it's 53, there's not then there's going to be a discussion at check-in, right? Because you stand, oh yeah, you're a couple of pounds over, that's fine, we'll send it, but if it's 53 is the limit here, so I'm gonna have to take that $30 for you. So it's like and some other minor things, items that are both oversized and overweight, you get one single fee instead of two fees. So it's like minor things like that. And and also transferring miles from one account to another. Transfer costs have now gone. The fee that they charge to transfer the miles is now 66% less than what it used to be. And other
that one's a big one.
It is for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this has been something that's unique with the US programs. So everyone else in the world is very strange, because elsewhere in the world, there's either household pooling, or there's free transfers amongst family members, or maybe perhaps limited to X number of times per year. This whole thing of effectively buying points to transfer them to a family member has been really a US construct, and it's been prohibitively expensive. The fact that and the truth is that we'd like to think that nobody takes advantage of it. Some people do. They do make money from it. American has recognized that selling the miles twice at full price is basically taking the piss. And they've worked out that, we can have some good optics here and probably actually increase the pooling and the take up of the gifting product by reducing the cost. So it may end up being that they actually make more money from this. But remember, these miles have already been either purchased or legitimately earned or issued.
Right.
And in most cases, they're not earned on the plane. So they've been earned through the credit card, which has paid American for them. So American has already made money from the issuance of these miles initially. And then they're making money again when you transfer them between family members. So, yes, this is a customer-friendly move, but not as customer-friendly as it should be, which should be, for some mechanism for household pooling or free family transfers, within some limits to prevent gaming and fraud.
Right. All right. So let's go through the other ones that they have. You will later this year, you will able to use miles to pay for Wi-Fi on select flights. Members can redeem miles for upgrades with select airline partners in 2024. Which is kind of like the Star Alliance Awards that has existed for about 25 years. So it has to be a specific booking class has to be available in order to you to book.
It's going to be irrelevant to most people to be actually utilize these.
Yeah. So the way that it works is, so on United or on Lufthansa, which is where it's used most relevantly for 20 years, it's been like that. If you are booked in J, or if you're booked in Z, or if any of the two promotional ones. So Zulu is a promotional one, and J is a promotional business class. You cannot upgrade. It has to be either C or D class. So those are so crazy expensive. You never, the only time you'll ever get booked into those booking classes is when rebooking agents will rebook you, and C class is only available for that flight. You might get lucky, and
you might get lucky and get plopped into one of them, but usually by that point it's at the last minute anyway, so you wouldn't be able to take advantage of.
Well, I actually did once. So I was going I was flying from Chicago to Frankfurt, and my flight got canceled, and I had to wait till the next day, and they rebooked me into full C class, and I used a system-wide upgrade to get the first class on Lufthansa. That's the only time and we're talking 250 flights a year for 25 years for me, right? So it happens, but it's not going to be irrelevant for anybody. Then you have
that's it, Tommy. I think it's important to say any new incremental benefit is good for customers. So yes, there might be restrictions which make it very difficult to use for 95% of people, but anything additional with nothing being taken away, we should celebrate it.
Right. And also, and bear in mind, all of these things are for members only, right? You have to be a member of the, just a member of the frequent flyer program Advantage. You can cancel basic economy tickets. That's also kind of a big deal. It went into the big black hole. If you have to, for some reason, cancel, it's not changeable. It's non-refundable. So that's the way that one went. That's the way it used to be. Now, members can cancel non-refundable basic economy tickets and receive partial trip credit for a fee. So they're sneaking in a change fee type of situation, and it also says partial trip credit for a fee. So it doesn't say you have to, as an Advantage member, and you have to have an Advantage account is kind of the gig for that. Same day standby beginning March 1st. Member can stand by for members. Again, you have to be a member of their program. You can stand by for an earlier domestic flight free of charge. And extended trip credit beginning in March 11th. Members can enjoy 6 more months to use their trip credit than non-members when canceling travel online. So those are and here's the most important part of the changes. I apologize. This is a really big one. American also is reducing the oversized limit to 150 linear inches. So javelins, pole vaults, or hang gliders are not permitted to check in from April 17th. There you have it.
Considering my performance at javelin in high school, I don't miss the ability to
the short Jewish guy from Melbourne. He needs a little bit of a longer stick than 115 linear inches, right?
Look, here's the interesting thing about all those things we just went through. All the incremental benefits. Again, it goes to what we were saying earlier, that American has actually been doing some good things or interesting tactics in terms of incentivizing you to be a member of the program. Brilliant. You get a better deal being an Advantage member than being a non-Advantage member, even if you fly once every 5 years. You should join for free, have your membership number in the booking. You get treated better. You're going to get better allowances than if you're not a member. It's as simple as that. So
which makes a lot of sense.
All of it makes sense, and you can see where they're going with it. So again, it adds more weight to this argument about why antagonize or risk undermining all of those other initiatives.
No, the other stuff is just to scare people who are business travelers. I think that's kind of a bad idea. They should just come out with the facts when we're ready to go. They shouldn't do that a week before the qualification year ends. I think that's
they should have either held up. They should have either released an initial list of preferred agencies or held off on the public side of this announcement until they had an initial list of preferred agencies.
Hang on for just a sec. You keep talking. I'll be ready.
Okay. Yeah. So. I think, again, I know it can be confusing to some people that a lot of this is inside baseball with regard to distribution and sales and corporate contracts and who's running corporate booking portals. But everything that came out, all the big news that came out of American this week about, booking direct, it's really all about these negotiations with these agencies. I would hazard a guess for 95% of people, regardless of your booking, even if you're booking on Expedia.com, for example, I highly doubt that any of these channels are going to be restricted when the time comes from earning miles and loyalty points. There could be a few obscure agencies, because they're politically holding out from complying with American, or some really, really smaller outfits that just don't want the adoption cost. I think but these are going to be edge cases. I think all of the major corporate tools, and honestly, I think all of the major retail OTAs, they're all going to be preferred agencies.
Yep, I agree. I think that there's nothing to see here, and I think that it was necessary. They're trying to make a point, and I get that, but I think it was unnecessary.
I think the confusion amongst their best members is definitely unnecessary. And I mean, the reason is even if it turns out to be a complete nothing issue, the reality is you've upset people, you've concerned people, you've raised their blood pressure, and that's not what you want to do amongst your loyal membership when you're trying to persuade them to do things like get another credit card or spend more on their American credit card, or, you just don't want to give them an excuse to even think about looking elsewhere.
Right. All right. I think that's a good conclusion. Thanks for having me on for this conversation, David. I appreciate it. It's been a lot of discussions now on LinkedIn this week, so this is a good wrap up for our Friday.
We'll talk soon again, Tommy.
Cheerio.